Now that we've finished knitting the cuff, it's time to join in the colours to make the patchwork pattern. I haven't given you any kind of plan to do that because it's fun with this type of sock to make it up as you go along. You can see here that what I've done is I've just added the colours in wherever I've felt like to make the squares. Some of them are darker, some of them are lighter, and they just all fit together beautifully. Here's the join, and this actually isn't so obvious once your sock is finished, and I'll show you a technique to make it tighter if you find that your join is a little bit loose as you're working. So what we need to do now is think about joining the colours. You can use larger balls of yarn or smaller balls, or you can just use little pieces of the yarn. It's all going to get in a bit of a tangle from time to time, so it's worth having a think about how you're going to put it all together. Now I'm going to start at the beginning of a round, so I'll just do the last stitch here, and what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take off the stitch marker because I won't need it, as the join will be able to show me where the start and finish of my round is. So let's join in the first colour, and just the same way as we join any yarn, I like to weave the ends in as I go. So I tuck the new working yarn under the old working yarn so that I don't get a hole. Knit the first stitch, and then I'm going to bring the tail end of the new working yarn up over the yarn that I'm using, and that anchors it in place, and then I'm going to bring it down over the yarn and knit again, and I continue to do this, bringing the yarn up and then knitting, and then taking the yarn back down again, and that just holds the yarn in place, and it saves you having to do any weaving in, or certainly as much weaving in later on, because as you'll be able to imagine, there are a lot of little ends in this sock. So the more that you can give yourself a break and weave the ends in as you go, then the better it will be later on, when you might just have a couple of tail ends and then a lot of snipping to do, and that makes life much easier. So you can see here that as the tail end's been woven in, it's holding it tight. And you can always tug that end if you need to, just to reduce any loose stitches that you might have where it starts. So to add the next yarn in, it's exactly the same process. So you tuck the tail end of the new working yarn under the existing one to anchor it, make sure that you don't get a hole between the colours, and then you just start knitting. Bring the tail end up and knit a stitch. Take the tail end down and knit a stitch, and that will anchor it as you're going along. And you just keep going for as many stitches as you think you're going to need. I tend to work about 7 or 8 stitches, maybe an inch or so, just to make sure that there's no chance of any of it coming out later on, because the last thing you want is to get holes in your patches. Once you've completed the first round, so you've got all of your colours joined in, then it's time to do the wrap and turn. I'm going to do the last 2 stitches of this round, and then I'm going to slip the next stitch on the left hand needle purlwise. I'm going to bring the yarn from the back of the needle to the front over the stitch, and I'm going to slip that stitch back onto the left hand needle again. There, you can see that the yarn pulls through, so I've slipped the stitch back, and I'm going to pull the yarn back from the back of the needle to the front again, so that I'm in the right place to be able to do the purl stitches. I'm going to purl all the way back along that round, and every time I come to a new yarn, I'm going to twist the yarns together so that I don't get a hole where the colours join. We've worked our way all the way back around the purl round now, and it's time to do the wrap and turn on this side. Now you need to pick up the wrap that we made before. So can you see it's there on the left hand needle? You pick that up and you put it onto the left hand needle, and then you purl it with the stitch that's there already. And then when you slip that off your needle, you're going to do another wrap. So slip that stitch from the left hand needle to the right, wrap the yarn around, slip the stitch back again, and then turn your work. And because it's going to be a knit round, you want the yarn to go to the back, and then you're ready to knit back around again. Here's the join, and this is also what's going to work as your stitch marker, so you'll know where the end of every round is. When you've worked your way back around and it's time to pick up the wrap on the knit side, just do the same thing. Pick it up, put it on your left hand needle, and then you're going to knit both of those stitches together, Sometimes it's a bit fiddly, but keep going and you'll be able to get your needle through. Knit them together, slide it off your needle, and then you're going to create the wrap. So slip the stitch from the left hand needle to the right, bring the yarn from the back and slip the needle back again. Turn your work and put the yarn to the front so that you can do your purl round, and then you're going to work your way back around your sock again. And you just keep working this same method until you've done all of the leg section for your sock.